Hello and welcome to another viewer voted review, the video game review series where you, the viewer, get to choose what I review next. Last time we reviewed ActRaiser for the Super Nintendo and I gave you 4 choices to choose from on what I would review next, and with 42% of the vote, you guys chose ToeJam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. So if you missed your chance to vote, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and stick around to the end of this video and I'll show you how to vote and what your 4 choices will be for the next review. So is ToeJam and Earl still jamming after all these years? Let's take a look. ToeJam and Earl was published in 1991 and it shows. The menus and overall presentation are very 90s. The game stars 2 rapping aliens, ToeJam and Earl. Earl was driving the spaceship and they hit an asteroid which caused them to crash to Earth. The ship broke apart into 10 pieces and it's up to you to find all of them so that you can get back home. When you first start the game, you are presented with some gameplay options and you can play with 1 or 2 players. 2 players gives you both ToeJam and Earl, and the 1 player option gives you the choice of starting with ToeJam or Earl. And the difference between the 2 isn't much, but Earl has more starting health where ToeJam moves faster, and I recommend starting with ToeJam if you're doing the 1 player option. When you start the game, you're placed in a world that's procedurally generated. Yes, we have a roguelike game for the Sega Genesis, and no 2 games are the same. When you start the stage, you'll set out to find an elevator and a spaceship part. Some levels have parts and the other ones don't, but the level will tell you if there's a part, so you're not searching all over the place for one. ToeJam and Earl have no default attacks, so you'll have to avoid enemies as they approach you, and as you're avoiding those enemies, you'll come across some food which is either yuck or yum, and bad tasting food will hurt you, but other food like hamburgers and sundaes will replenish your health. In addition to food, you'll also come across presents, and these contain various items that can either improve or hinder your gameplay experience. And you have different power-ups like super high tops which allow you to run faster, and other ones which will totally jumble up your presents or even cause you to have an end of life. Spread throughout the world are enemies for ToeJam and Earl to encounter, and since you can't fight back without an item, it's really important to avoid each enemy. And some are very funny looking, and some are just plain annoying, like this hula girl or this sneak attack ninja. The hula girl gives you an uncontrollable urge to dance as she gets closer, which is very frustrating, especially if there's other enemies around. And the sneak attack guys, what they'll do is they will move much faster than ToeJam or Earl, and they definitely provide you with a lot of hit points, and it's very frustrating. And the environment can get pretty huge, and since each level is generated at random, it can be difficult to traverse. If you listen to a ringing telephone, you can uncover panels of the map which sometimes reveal where key items are, like spaceship parts and elevators, to move on to the next level. And while this is Earth, each level is on a plane surrounded by space. Traveling close to the edge is actually recommended since it can reveal secret pathways, and falling off the side doesn't cause any damage, but it will send you to the previous level. And also avoid the water. While you can swim, you do lose health by swimming, and you swim so slow that if you try to get to the other side of the lake, you'll die before you even get to the edge. And what's worse is that when you respawn, you'll respawn in the water. So if you made it too far off the shore, good luck to you because it's a game over. ToeJam and Earl move fastest on the road, but there's not too many of that road, and so you're stuck on the grass or the sand, which is actually quicksand, and so when you get to those levels, you want to stay as close to the edge as possible. As you progress through the game, you can increase your health bar by leveling up, and each level is obtained by accruing points that you can get either by discovering areas of the map, getting food, and opening presents. And each level is named in a typical 90s fashion like Wiener, Poindexter, Bro, and Funklord. Overall, this game is pretty interesting, but it's not my favorite. While the atmosphere of this game is relaxing, it doesn't provide too much of a challenge. And in fact, as you search for parts, the levels with no parts are the worst, since there's really not much to explore. I think the most frustrating part of this game is that I would get knocked off the edge and then have to find the elevator back up. Also, it's pretty easy to get lost, so I'm always checking the map to make sure that I haven't covered any land that I haven't already been to. And also, there's 10 parts, and since not all levels have parts on them, you'll sometimes go 5 levels in a row without a part. And one time I got knocked off 3 levels in a row, and that really killed my motivation to continue the game. And if you run out of lives before you find all the parts, it's game over and you need to start all the way over from the beginning. And it's really frustrating if you were only 2 parts away like I was. As far as pricing is concerned, this game has been averaging about $50 complete for the past couple of years, and it peaked in March of this year to $62 complete after the announcement of the Genesis collection for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Then it bottomed out completely at $32 this summer, which is the lowest it's been since 2014. And that's really surprising as there has been a lot of fanfare around its sequel, Back in the Groove, which is set to come out soon. Add to the fact that Limited Run Games has released a physical promo of this game as well. The game is on the rise and will probably spike again when the Genesis collection launches on the Switch December 7th. If you manage to find this game for less than $50, I say it's a really good deal. I don't recommend paying more than that though. The game does play well for a Genesis game, but it does show its age. The soundtrack is really enjoyable, and the roguelike structure of this game ensures that you'll have a lot of replayability, especially with 2 players. But if you really want to play it on the cheap, I recommend picking up the Genesis collection, which contains both ToeJam and Earl games for the Sega Genesis. So that's ToeJam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. A good game, but not really a good game. I'm not really sure if it's worth the amount that it's going for. I think I paid like $35 for it, so I'm at least satisfied with that. But let's move on to your 4 choices for next week. Now, as before, what I'll have is a poll at the end of this video in my community tab with the 4 choices for you to choose from. The poll will be active for about a week, and then I'll choose the winner, and then I'll review that game, and I'll have a nice review that you guys chose. So, what are your 4 choices this time? Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter for the PlayStation 4. Ico for the PlayStation 2, Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U, and Death Smiles for the Xbox 360. So here's how to vote. I'll have a poll ready for you in my community tab on my channel, Super Nicktendo, and you'll have 4 of the choices to choose from. So you'll just cast your vote, or you can leave it down in the comments below if you really want other people to know what you wanted to vote for. And then comment on the poll as well. It helps the poll expand as you engage with it. So if you guys want your choice to win, you definitely want to comment on that poll as well. And let me know what you think about ToeJam and Earl. Did this review persuade you in one way or the other? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, give it a like. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for future gaming content. I'm Super Nicktendo, and thanks for watching.